Good morning, welcome to Breakfast with Naga Munchetty and Charlie State.
Our headline is Thursday the 30th of January. Our top story is that 200 British citizens who are trapped in Wuhan, the city at the heart of the coronavirus, will not be flown home today as planned.
British officials are still waiting for permission to fly from the Chinese authorities. The Foreign Office says it's trying to reorganise the flight as soon as possible. Andy Moore.
Correspondent Robin Brandt is in Shanghai. Morning, Robin. Good to see you. Do we know why? What's going on with this flight now and why it's been cancelled or postponed?
The Chancellor, Sajid Javid, will give his backing to the HS2 rail link later today when senior ministers meet to discuss its future.
The project's been criticised after costs almost doubled to more than £100 billion. It's intended to create faster links between London, Birmingham and Northern England.
Our political very much.
Vanessa Bryant has thanked the millions of people who have sent her family support after the death of her husband, basketball legend Kobe.
Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab has reiterated his disappointment at the rejection of an extradition request for the American woman charged over the death of the British teenager Harry Dunn.
The British motorbike firm Norton has gone into administration.
One of the last surviving Battle of Britain pilots has died at the age of 101. Wing Commander Paul Farnes was a fighter ace, a pilot who had brought down 5 or more enemy aircraft.
There are now just 2 RAF pilots remaining who defended Britain from German invasion in the summer of 1940. Manazar Rafiq has been looking back at his life. Time now is 8 minutes past 6. A little teaser for you this morning. What's the best way, Charlie, to transport a greenhouse?
Well, there are a number of choices, but possibly not the one you're going to see now.
No, the person who drove that car, morning Jane, on that roof.
Yes.
So not only was that person rather foolish, but there was at least one other foolish person who said, yeah, it's absolutely fine to put a greenhouse on a roof rack, on a little car, and drive it in Greater Manchester.
I think you'd be surprised at the things people put on their roof racks. I mean, that's going some, but I think that possibly there'll be more extreme.
Well, we will come back to it because the papers have picked up on it, and some other foolish people.
Not glazed. So it was just.
How
an
do you know it
aluminium
wasn't
structure.
glazed?
Well, you could see it. You can see there's no glass attached to it.
I don't think you can.
No.
No. I don't think you can
your
see
route,
that.
wouldn't you, to make sure you're not going under a low bridge? I mean,
Yeah, but you know.
yeah, I think
the
it's
moment.
a sensible decision to make.
Absolutely.
Are you going to have a look at the papers in just a moment with us?
Yes.
Very good. First, though, we're going to go to Carol for a first look at the weather. I think that's what you're doing today. Is it the weather, Carrie? Doing the weather?
Yes, it's
What
certainly
else,
is, Charlie.
what else
Just
would you be doing, Carol?
Well, I guess.
Issue.
Well, Carol, it's not. It is a random question because we were talking about. You saw the story about the car which was carrying the greenhouse frame, and Charlie's like, well, who hasn't carried a mattress on their car?
Everybody's carried a mattress on top of their car at some point.
Carol hasn't. Yeah. And Carol's like a
Carol's
good.
different.
Carol's
She's
a good
in a special
yardstick.
category of her own. It's a very special category. A lot of people have carried mattresses on top of their cars.
Ben,
No,
Have you? What have you
Jane?
carried on the top of your car?
I haven't now.
like planks of wood, suitcases, things like that. Never a mattress.
Mike's carried an enamel
Suitcase.
bath,
Yeah.
a cast iron bath. Our cameraman's carried a cast iron bath on top of his car.
I'm quite impressed with the strength of getting that up there.
Quite impressed about the car.
How does it not squash the top of the car?
Exactly.
They're not that heavy.
I don't know.
Expert on roof racks.
Have
but
you
one
had
of the-
your coffee this
One
morning?
of the principles of a roof rack is it spreads the weight around, which is a bit of science for you. It spreads the weight around, so it's not going to it's not literally sitting on the metal of the car, is it? It's spreading the weight around on a roof rack.
Still quite heavy.
I accept it's quite heavy. Anyway, have you got anything to add to the?
Well, can we just say that Mike started by saying, I've had a bath on top of my car.
I know.
And we all
And then
thought
we're
that he'd
all-
literally had a bath on top of the car.
That was it.
Splashing around.
Right, back to decorum. 17 minutes past 6 is
Thought that he'd literally had a bath on top of the car.
That was it.
Splashing around.
Right, back to decorum. 17 minutes past 6 is the time. Should we take a look at today's papers and start with the day? Jay, thank you.
See you all
Thanks,
later
Ben.
on.
20 minutes past 6 is the time. We'll return to our top story. The coronavirus continues to spread. We're asking, and many people are, what is being done to tackle it?
Scientists in the US have told the BBC they could have a vaccine ready for use before the end of the year. Our global health correspondent, Juliet Mazinda, has been given exclusive access to their labs in San Diego.
And we'll be covering a lot more on the coronavirus and the impact it's having on people who are in China and trying to get back to the UK a little later in the programme.
Time now is 6:23. They have become a familiar sight in cities across the world. You might have seen them or use them on holiday, but how would you feel about electric scooters on the roads where you live?
Well, now the Department of Transport is set to consult on whether riding an electric scooter on public roads, cycle paths and pavements should be made legal in the UK. Greg Mackenzie has been out in London to find out what people think. So, mixed reviews. Should they be legalised? What do you think? You can always tweet us at BBC Breakfast. You can get in touch on our Facebook page or drop us an email, bbcbreakfast@bbc.co.uk. Have you ever ridden an electric scooter?
No. Regular scooter, yes. Electric scooter, no.
So you regularly...
No, I've been on a regular scooter occasionally. Yes.
Picturing it.
But not on an e-scooter. No, never done that. So
No,
if you
me
have,
neither.
you've got experience, let us know about that as well. We'll see how that works out. Time now to get the news, the travel and the weather where you are.
6:30. Thanks for joining us. All the latest news.
Hello, this is Breakfast with Naga Munchetty and Charlie State.
Good morning to you. It's just coming up to 6:30. Thanks for joining us. All the latest news and sport.
Good morning. Here's a summary of today's main stories from BBC News. 200 British citizens due to be evacuated from the city at the heart of the coronavirus are still stranded there after a flight was postponed by the Foreign Office.
British officials are still waiting for permission to fly from the Chinese authorities.
That's Chris Hill, who is in Wuhan. His wife, as you heard, is a Chinese national. His daughter has dual nationality, and that is causing some complications in terms of who is or is not allowed to leave.
I mean, that's the question, isn't it? What would you do? It's so hard for anyone who's a parent now to imagine leaving their child there when you're concerned and worried about, you know, a virus that is hitting the headlines all around the world.
Yes, and just in terms of the specifics, we were hearing from our correspondents out there this morning. The official line from the Foreign Office is that the relevant permission is not forthcoming at present for that flight, because 200 people were due to get on a flight today to come out of Wuhan. A relevant permission is not forthcoming at present. We'll keep you up to date, of course, on any developments.
It is 23 minutes to 7. Other news to bring you. The Chancellor Sajid Javid is giving his backing to the high-speed 2 rail line at a meeting with the Prime Minister and Transport Secretary later today. On Wimbledon 3 years ago.
Yes, Muguruza,
and
yeah.
she's now unseeded.
Well, she just kind of
Because when you said
disappeared.
that, I thought, I know her. How do you mean she's unseeded?
Yeah, I think she just went through like a difficult patch, and she had an injury as well for a while. But then, yeah, obviously
Quickly
her
happens, you
form's-
just drop out of the rankings.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're injured, then clearly, you know, you can't play for a while, and you drop down, and yeah, unseeded just means that she won't have been like the top players for that tournament. But
It's going to be an exciting
still-
match, whatever, anyway.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Should finish while we're on the
Saturday.
programme.
Come out to see him, to watch him, obviously, and then fell ill and had to be taken to hospital.
Also, puts things into perspective, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Family over winning the series, of course.
Yeah, it's only sport.
Jen, thanks very much. See you later on. 6:43 is the time now.
Working in the prison services, understandably, it would be high-pressured, but now it's emerged that 1,000 prison officers in England and Wales took time off work last year because of stress. 800 were absent because of anxiety or depression.
The figures obtained by a Freedom of Information request represent a significant increase on previous years. Our Home Affairs correspondent Danny Shaw has this report. Time now is 6:46.
What time is it then?
Time now is 6:46.
Time to talk to Carol. Time to talk to Carol to find out what's happening with the weather, of course. What a gorgeous picture you've got there.
Isn't it lovely, Naga? And good morning, everybody. If you're just stepping outside this morning...
Let's see, time now 6:49.
Bank of England's meeting today. It's going to decide whether or not to cut interest rates. There's been a lot of debate about whether the cost of borrowing is about to fall, and that's what Ben's looking at this morning. Good morning to you.
Morning, yeah, we're trying to work out whether this is good news or bad for savers or borrowers, depending where your money is and what you do.
Like your little pig.
Good. We aim to please.
Yeah. He was moving at speed, Ben, moving at speed.
Doesn't
That
hang
thing wasn't
around.
hanging around, was it?
Shoom.
Yeah.
Straight through.
6:52 is the time now.
Perhaps you fancy yourself as an interior design enthusiast. If you do, you might be tempted by some statement wallpaper, bold colours, or maybe some striking furniture.
That is nothing compared to the artist Ron Gittins. When his sister visited his flat for the first time after he passed away, she found a hidden treasure trove of his work. In Haslam, went to take a look.
That is Fantastic.
It's an extraordinary story, isn't it? And you kind of think, but you wonder, because it's a rented property, was it in the lease, don't paint, do any painting?
Yeah, or if you're not supposed to even bang a nail in a wall in some rented places, rented flats, imagine what the landlord's going to say about that. But also the fact that he didn't even let any of his family and friends in there. He was just whittling away, doing these brilliant creations, and no one knew about it.
It does seem a shame if more people can't see it, in a way, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that looks fabulous. Anyway,
see what happens.
Hope you enjoyed it. Find out what's happening wherever you are this morning when it comes to news, travel and weather, and we will see you at 7 o'clock.